Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. If you could imagine what it would be like on the other side of the veil with the incredible love for you, at this moment, when you allow this kind of message, there is even more. Because in that allowance, you have intent to hear. Intent to hear perhaps that which you need, but more than that, to experience things. It takes this intent, dear ones, for anything truly to be cognized by your consciousness. If you have come just to sit in the energy, it's one thing. But so many have come to actually cognize, that is to have an experience that goes beyond just sitting in the energy. There is an awakening going on. It's the best words that we can have. And if you take a look at what that truly means in your language of awakening, it means that you're actually in a different form of reality, that is sleep. And you know about sleep. To awaken from sleep is to come then back from a time where you would necessarily not be in the full reality. So you go from a slumber where perhaps you're having visions and dreams, and then you come back to a reality that you're used to. The metaphor of the awakening is just like that. You're about to have an awakening from what I can just describe as a slumbering sleep of old reality. It's a slumbering sleep of old energy that you thought was reality. People have always asked, well, is this really a dream, and are we going to wake up someday? You might say so. Your awakening is to a higher level of reality. You might even say it's a multidimensional shift, or just simply a shift of dimensions. You're going from what you thought was real into a higher reality. There'll be an aha experience to so many. An awakening to a higher level of truth, to a higher level of reality. This morning we talked about your heritage. Your heritage is that of divinity, period. That's who you are. You come in divine, and from that area and from that moment and from that place and from that dimension, if you want to call it, from the beginning, you are divine. And what happens next is truly what happens in the training that you get from your parents. As you awaken into this planet, what is happening? What is the energy? What are you taught? And that's free choice. But there's more. There's a lot more. What makes the difference between a human who comes in the same family and awakens differently than another? Two brothers or two sisters, or a brother and sister, and vastly different. And they're receiving the same message. Then we get into what we've told you before. How many lifetimes have you had? What have you learned? What's in your Akash that might then temper what you do next? It's complicated, but let me give you a premise. I told you of your heritage, every one of you, divine. But the age of how long you've been on this planet often determines your awakening. I want you to imagine that each one of you has a package of seeds when you're born. This is a metaphor, dear ones. The seeds is a metaphor for an implanted information that is encapsulated until it's watered. Like seeds. And as you grow, and as you go through lifetime after lifetime, your experience on the planet is starting to water the seeds. And so the old soul, the one who has been here over and over, has the most seeds that have been watered, and they start to then come alive. And what's in those seeds, dear ones, is the potential of so many things. One of them is the ability to awaken into a new reality completely. And that is why we're doing the Circle of 12. It is the beginning of the final watering of so many seeds of the old soul. But this is all by free choice. Although difficult for you to understand, you could have all of those seeds and you could water them with past life after past life and all the information, all the experience, and yet you might show up on the planet and choose to ignore the seeds completely, even the watered ones. And that then creates a human being who's often in denial of their own magnificence. They've watered the seeds for lifetime after lifetime. They come in this time and they say, I don't think so. That is classic free choice. That's also what we have defined in the past as the closet light worker. Some of you are married to closet light workers, both genders. And you saw them for their magnificence and you fell in love with them because of who they are. And you have perhaps gone on a tangent, you might call it, to others would say, of being spiritual or believing these things that I speak of now. And the other one will say, well, I don't think so, it's not for me. It is for them, but not now. But they have it in their seeds as well. This is the free choice of any human being, to water or not to water. But now I want to add the big one to you. This system of awakening has been with you all of your lifetimes. And that's why spiritual growth has been available for eons. And that's why many will see that which others don't and will go into avenues of meditation, of channeling, of doing kinds of things that perhaps are not mainstream because they're awakening into higher truths. It's been with you for a very long time. But suddenly, you've passed the marker. What do you think of what's going on the planet right now? What decisions are you having to make? Have you noticed that one of the biggest things you've had to do is to water the seed of self-worth? Have you noticed that one of the seeds, old soul, that you're having to water right now is the one where you're able to step out of fear? At every juncture right now, you are being barraged with those who are saying the sky is falling. There is the pandemic. There is more. There is the astrology of the day. There is more. There's fear about this. There's fear about that. And it gets worse, you say. Have you ever had a time on the planet where you're presented by so much fear, potential fear, and those around you who are fearing? Have you ever been in a time where those who are supposed to present to you that which is happening on the planet, your media, your news, has tried to make it worse for you? How do you like it so far? This is the time of decision, dear ones, to either accept an old energy of anxiety and fear, or to step out of it completely with your magnificence and stand tall and say to the others, this is a reboot, and you're going to see what's going to happen next. And they will literally beat you up in their conversations and saying, no, it's this, it's not that. Have you heard about this? Did you know this was going to happen? Did you hear that channeling? Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? And it's all black with fear. And then they say, well, if you don't believe those channelers and those people who say it's the end of the planet, just listen to the news. And they're right. Just listen to the news, because they'll enforce it for you. Here's what I say to those who will say that. Talk to me in a year or two, and then let's reconnoiter. Let's see what has happened. And you can see, what were you afraid of? Were you afraid maybe that this planet is in a pruning, a time when the things you don't need are being released, the ugly things are starting to come up for you to look at? Were you aware that might even include your economy or your leadership? On and on. This is the time where those things are going to show themselves, and you're going to say, I want this, I don't want this, I want this, I don't want this, because of what happened in 2012. I'll tell you, the sprinklers came on, and all of you are being watered, and all of those seeds that were dormant and sitting there and waiting for this time since the creation of your soul on this planet, they've all been there, but a few of them have been held aside in case you made it past 2012. Kryon, I don't understand anything you're saying. What's all this about seeds and watering? And sometimes you're going to have to listen to these channels many times to understand the many metaphors we use. Let me be succinct. You are waking up in a different way, to a different energy, in a different dimensional paradigm. That's what's going on. Or did you not notice it? You think everything is normal. You've been asleep for months then. Things are changing, and they're changing in a way that is going to restructure everything. You will come out of this. You'll get through this year. You'll get through all of the astrology attributes. You're going to get through the fear and the things that might have happened or not happened. And you start to see things coming back. But they come back more powerful, more succinct, better. Even that which you would call the relationships between you and your children, you and your partners, you and your colleagues are changing. Did you notice? There are some that are dropping away suddenly, and there are some that are getting a lot closer suddenly. You think all this is a coincidence? Or is there something happening with the energy of this planet that's creating a different kind of thinking? There are things that are going to happen within 2 years, dear ones, with nation to nation, that you didn't expect. When some of the secrets that have always been there start to be revealed, of appropriate things and inappropriate things, it'll change your view of the planet, of each other. What if you started not to think about nation to nation? Instead, you think human to human. What if the connections that you have now through your technology start to build a firmer base of a collaboration from human to human, compassion from human to human, and not leadership to leadership? Up to this point, you've been told how to treat other countries because they say this or that, or they pass this law or that law. And suddenly, that may actually be much less of an influence. And instead, the major influence is you talking to the people in other countries without a language barrier even. That's coming as well, more than you know. What happens when the world can talk to the world? I'll tell you what happens. The leadership gets frightened because you're starting to see things that they didn't want you to see. And that is when things really start to change. You start to eliminate that which is no longer appropriate on the planet. And that's just about everything around you. There'll come a day when you will take the media to task and say, don't frighten us anymore. Give us the news which is good and bad at the same time. If there's bad news, give it to what's going on the planet, and then tell us the other side of the story, not just one. We want to tune in. We want our hearts blessed at the same time we get the information we should have, so that we can feel for the others, so we can solve problems and get a real story and not a spin that's been put on it to frighten us. That's coming. You're about to open a package of consciousness where many things are going to be revealed to you in a whole different light. Like the light has turned on, and you're going, I didn't realize that this was this way. I didn't realize this was this way. Look, we can solve some things here or there. The seeds are being watered, and when they start to blossom, dear ones, you see the tree of life. That tree of life is a coherence with the rest of the planet, a coherence between human to human, where things start to be far more logical to you in that which is compassion. There'll come a time when the planet will not fear as much as it does today. All of these things I am talking about are awakening the seeds that you've always had, should you make it past that place, if you want to call it that, paradigm-changing area, if you want to talk about it that way, which is the difference between the old and the new energy. It's more than just a time. It's more than just a demarcation of the precession of the equinoxes in 2012. It's more than just a change of calendars for the Maya. You've gone across a bridge from an old to a new energy, which has the potential of changing everything on this planet. And right now, the difficulty is that when you change these kinds of things and this quickly, there's so much that looks black. But old soul, especially the ones who are hearing this, that's why you're here. You're here to shine. You're here to help those around you to see your continence and your lack of fear, perhaps even your joy, as you stand tall and say, we have expected good things for a long time. Let's get through this so that the sun can come out and we can get on with what we came for. Do you understand that the change of seasons often brings the trees to a standstill? And the skies get dark and the leaves fall off and it gets cold and dangerous unless you cover up. And that's where you are right now. You're in a kind of winter on this planet. I'll call it the winter of consciousness. Before the sun comes out and the birds begin to sing and you start to see what was always there, but the colors that come back on the trees you've never seen before. The songs of the birds, you've never heard that before. And the sun comes out, and when it does, it shines brighter than it ever has before. This is the winter that we told you about, that will absolutely change everything. That winter is when things start to show themselves that are ugly. That's where you are, dear ones. For those of you who understand what I'm saying, take a breath and understand this, That's why you're here. That's why you're here. Those seeds are starting to awaken. And here comes something that was implanted in you a long time ago. The implantation of divinity. That is your heritage. Here it comes. Maturity, compassion, understanding, peace, healing, longer life. That's the tree that's growing right now in you. Kryon, I hope you're right. Talk to me in a year or two, and we'll see. Things are changing on this planet far differently than you ever thought. And you are right in the middle of it, by design, dear one. By design. A design of love. I'll be back tomorrow. And so it is.